We wrap up with a conversation which certainly looks to invigorate new life in you as we take a look at the evolution of retail in a digital age. Clearly, the future is not coming, but it's here. Please warmly welcome on stage the CEO and founder of Lemok Group, Lebogang Mokubela.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing? I was actually going to greet in all 11 languages, then I remembered I only know 4. So bear with me. So my talk is around the evolution of retail in the digital age, but the main focus is around the township market. Mainly because I wanted to highlight certain things. I've been here probably in the second session, and I've heard that a lot of talks that have been being said were basically generalized. And when you go into the township market, it's a bit more different. So just to give you a synopsis, so this is us. That's the team that creates the magic. We're a township-based agency. And when I say township, I'm not saying Soweto, because whenever we say township, people are thinking Soweto. We come from another township that starts with an S. It's called Soshanguve. That's all the way in Pretoria. It's a nice township there. So our job is basically doing shopping center marketing, primarily for shopping centers that talk to the township audience. Now, just to get into the crux of things, in terms of the township audience, the disruption that we see in the retail space is actually not e-commerce. It's not e-commerce. And I think we've spoke about it the whole day. It's a shift in power in terms of the consumer. I have a friend who runs a business in Soshanguve. His business basically caters for students. So he has partnerships with the bursaries, and then every bursary student, so what happens in the township is there's a major university called the Tshwane University of Technology, in short TUT. Now TUT has its own campus residents, but now the problem is obviously the amount of students versus the residents, there's a shortfall. So now there's houses in the community where people can rent, but the bursaries do not want to reimburse the households, mainly because the bursaries only pay by a lump sum, and the household owners are like, nope, I'm not going to do that, I want my money every month. So what he did is he stood in the gap and said, you bursaries, you pay me, I will pay these guys every month. And his business started like that. Then last year, he evolved his business from just not rental, but also buying the stationery that the people use for their schooling. And now he started by introducing an e-commerce website because it's much easier to do that. And the amount of sales that he did is what, in 3-month period, I think it's a 3-month period, is what he does in a day now. And what he has done differently was he actually stands at the corner where the students are with a little branded gazebo and all the products there, and he has this card machine with Fundi. The Fundi, I think, administrates the bursary funds, and he makes more sales like that. So to think that e-commerce in the township is just going to work because we have free Wi-Fi in the township, which is nice, because City of Tshwane is doing the nice things. They have Tshwane Wi-Fi. 12 midnight, you find people in the middle of the street connecting on their phones. It's beautiful, but doesn't mean that the disruption is in the e-commerce. So traditionally, this is us as marketers. We sit in our nice offices and we come up with these plans and these ideas on how to market our shopping centers, and it's usually based on our experience. So before I started my own agency, I was a director in another agency. Our biggest client was Telkom, which was then ATA, which is now Telkom Mobile, which is ATA. And I remember we did one campaign where the iPhone 5 was launching in South Africa. And at that point, ATA was the only network that had stock. The other networks, you were basically placing an order. And in that weekend, we sold 3,000 units, and that was amazing. But for me to take my experience in that and apply it to this shopping center industry often doesn't work. And this is what we do. We base it on our experience, on what has worked in other things, and then we bring that into the township. One of the reasons why I actually built my agency to be township-based was also because I was irritated whenever we do campaigns for the township, they'll give freebies, which is a T-shirt branded there with our logo. So in this case, would be Lemok. And we say, come dance for this T-shirt. And then we say, but for you to dance for us, you have to buy a SIM card. And people would do that, but the reality is they would take your T-shirt and go home and clean with it. So you find a guy walking in the street with a Vodacom T-shirt, but his SIM card in his phone is MTN. Or not even MTN, Cell C, because the data is much cheaper. So I was actually very irritated about. So one of the things that we need to understand when we do township marketing is that we shouldn't just sit in our own comfortable spaces and say this is what is going to happen. We have to understand there's nuances in a township. So there's Mamelodi in Pretoria. Mamelodi, there's a word called stele. Stele basically means that's the toot. I'm not sure if I can swear, but that's the toot. It means it's the one. And then when you move further up into Soshanguve, you don't necessarily hear people saying that word. I once saw a billboard in Sandton of a cool drink, and it written refresh. When you get to Mamelodi, it says sure. And I'm thinking to myself, who drinks this thing and says sure? So when we deal with the township, we shouldn't look at them as one thing. We need to go in and understand, because you have the poor people in the township, correct, but you also have the demographic that is driving 2 million rand cars and wearing designer labels. And there's another in Soshanguve. There's a club called Fantuka, which is essentially equivalent to clubs that we find or restaurants that we find in Sandton, where a meal is an average of 500 rand. You find it in a Soshanguve, and that's what I want to highlight quickly, just to understand. The guy on my left, yes, his name is Vusitembe Gwayo. This was not intentional. I see they're wearing the same color suit, but it was not intentional. The other guy there, his name is Raymond Ackerman. He's the founder of Pick and Pay. Vusitembe Gwayo is an esteemed entrepreneur in South Africa. I got the honor of being mentored by him a few years ago. And one of the stories he said to me is that he asked Raymond Ackerman, how did you do it that Pick and Pay grew to the point that it grew before, obviously, ShopRite overtook it? And the one story he told him is that he made it a point that every month he would go to visit one shop and walk the aisles and speak to the actual customers. That's how the express tills came about. Because the people were complaining that I have to wait. I literally have a cool drink, and I have to wait in line with all these 6 people with their trolleys, and I just want to buy a cool drink. And that's where the idea came in. With the same scenario, when you go into the township, let's understand this. I have quite a few things to go through, that's why I'm rushing a bit. So we did a digital behavior research. We did about 3,700 people. It's both on Facebook, as well as some of them is talking to actual people within the township. Interesting statistics. So the gender split, 81% females and then 18% male. So we asked the first question, would you say you're loyal to one shopping center? And then 60% of them said yes. And just under 40% said no. So 2 ways of looking at it. People are loyal to one specific shopping center, but at the other hand, they are not. Because 40% is actually not too far off. Meaning, and to further entice that reasoning, in Soshanguve, there's Soshanguve Crossing, which I think it's owned by Lemok Group. And then as you go further out, there's Wonder Park Shopping Center, which is owned by Brawl, I think. Now, you find that people that go to Soshanguve Crossing, they go there with their morning slippers. And they just go there, buy the bread, and go home. But people that go to Wonder Park literally get into the bathtub. It's a whole thing, Shem. It's a whole thing, eyebrows on fleek and everything. And it's a whole event, and they go there. So it's quite important that you understand why people choose one shopping center over another. The major thing is, it's a social thing. I want to be seen somewhere. Relatively, people in Soshanguve don't want to be seen in a mall that is accessible to everyone, like Soshanguve Crossing. But when I go to Wonder Park, Sandton, best believe the first thing I do as I get off my car in Sandton City, check in. You must see, I'm there. Whether or not I'm buying or I'm not buying, doesn't matter. I'm there. Sandton vibes, babes. And the second thing is, how do they travel to the mall? It's quite interesting that most people use their own vehicles. We would think if we think top of our heads, we think most people use public transportation, but that's not the case. We give thanks to Renault with their Clio and VW with their Polo. They are there. Second, it's public transport, and another interesting factor is Uber. There's actually Uber in Soshanguve. It's expensive, but it's there. But it's there. And then also ask a question, how would you like a shopping center to communicate with you? Major thing, social media, email, but also interesting is WhatsApp. And actually, we started doing this for one of our shopping center clients. We introduced the WhatsApp line, and when we run promotions, that's the line that people go to ask for information, because obviously we can't have promoters there all the time because of budget. And it's actually a nice platform to look at. Oh, there we go. And then what is the most important factor in choosing a shopping center? Store selection, which is tenant mix, is a major thing for them. It's closer to home or work, and then safety and security is a big thing. Yesterday I was at one shopping center, not to say the name because I might get in trouble, but there's one shopping center there in the township, and I'm close to the guys, the car guards there. So as I'm driving out, one car guard is like, "Hey, meaning, did you hear?" Like, what did I hear? And it's like, "Hey, that guy there, they stole his car." And that guy's literally standing there and scratching his head because his car was literally there and it's not there anymore. And therefore, safety and security is a big thing, which I'll highlight again. So key insights. Women are the main shoppers. The guys are the ones that use the free Wi-Fi. So they wait for the lady to do her errands. My fiance, whenever I go shopping with her, I'm always the one who's angry because she'll take this and move there and then come back there. And you're like, okay, cool, let me just sit in my own corner. And that's what happens literally. And shoppers are mostly loyal to a certain mall for a certain kind of reason. Free parking is no longer a luxury, it's a necessity. If we can't go free parking, then flat rate. So one shopping center that we represent as well, they introduced a weekend flat rate of 5 Rand, but during the week, if you stay there for like 4+ hours, you pay like 50 Rand or something like that. It's very expensive. And social media is the best platform. However, we need to revisit our websites. Because our websites, how they sit now as shopping centers, they're literally digital CVs. They are just there. We update them when there's new job experience. That's it. And so we need to relook how the website, because people don't necessarily go to your website in J. They just go there because they need directions or they need a phone number for center management, or they want to find out if there's a movie playing, if Black Panther or Wakanda is there. They want to find that out, but they don't go there. The website most of the time is just sitting there. So consider using websites. Here's an idea for you. Link it up with the POS systems of your retailers inside your shopping centers. Use the website as a portal for people to find stock before they even come to your mall. Remember, people they do their research online, and then they make the purchase inside the mall. Consider doing that. I don't know how you're going to do it. It's just an idea. Safety and security, obviously, are becoming more and more important. So we also asked, if you're a shopping center marketing manager, what would you improve? So we summarized into these 6 things: longer trading hours, because at the same time, majority of people that live in the township don't all work in the township. They go out of the township. So they come back at home between 6, 7, and 8, and sometimes 9, and they get the malls closed at like 7. So they can't do their shopping, and therefore sometimes they shop at places where are closer to their workplace in town. But in terms of the township, we lose money because of that. And I understand with trading times is also dependent on whether your mall is a day trade or a night trade or whatever the case may be. But let's be creative around that. And then improve visibility of security. I've been to a few malls this week, and I've realized that you see a lot of security inside the mall, not outside. It's very strange that you see people inside, not outside the mall, where security is actually the bigger thing. So we need to also improve the visibility, cost of parking, like I said, and Wi-Fi. 250 megabytes is a no-no. Because let me be honest with you, you go on Instagram, you view one video and you go through a few pictures, it's gone. Remember, Wi-Fi, the main aspect of it is to increase dwell time, correct? Am I wrong? It's increased dwell time. So you give me 250 megabytes, I'll scroll through 3 videos and that's done. I'm bouncing, I'm gone. So let's look at uncapped, and we have done uncapped for a few malls. Okay, not us, but we've launched uncapped Wi-Fi for a few malls, which I'll go through the case studies for you, and it works beautifully. And then this one, I had to place it there. This one person said, bring more unique shops. You are tired of chain stores. In Wonder Park, there's a guy called Offense. He owns a clothing label called Dirty Lolly. And that guy, I remember that I was once told that he makes so much money that he pays for his rental 3 months in advance. He's not a national brand. He's not an internationally recognized brand. And it shows that in terms of the black audience specifically, we're moving towards supporting our own. On Facebook, there's a group called Brown Sense. It's a closed group. I'm not sure if you know about it, but it's a closed group where black people are in there supporting each other. So I hire jumping castles. Yes, I want one. Come here. then that's how it works. It's trade between black people, essentially. And that's where the trend also is going. So when we look at tenant mixes, let's also start introducing more unique brands to our shopping centers, because to be honest, each shopping center is the same in terms of tenant mix. The only difference is one doesn't have a Ster-Kinukor and the other one does. That's like literally the few differences there are. And then lastly, improve presence online. It's amazing that people that we talk to say they fail to find promotional information from shopping centers, hence they engage more with the brands themselves. So they engage more with an Edgar's on social media versus whatever shopping center, because the visibility of the marketing is not there. And I often find that even with the campaigns we do for our clients, often at times majority of the focus is inside the mall. So the promotional stuff is inside the mall, where people are already coming to the mall, but what about the people outside the mall? So that's another thing we need to also keep in mind. Case study number 1, free Wi-Fi launch that we did for the builders. I was actually very touched that I can't see the people. When they did the Mall of Africa thing and they talk about the competitors and I don't see builders, which is literally just here from Mall of Africa. So I was a bit touched, I just had to say it. So anyway, the builders, free Wi-Fi launch. So the main thing I want to highlight with this case study is that understanding your audience, which you all say is the buzzword, understand your audience, but I'll explain in detail, is the major thing. But once you understand the audience, build content around the understanding. And then that's the same two things, the same WhatsApp group. You must marry those two things. Because if you don't marry these two things, it's null and void. We all understand our markets, but all shopping centers, when you go from a content perspective, it's all the same. It's generic content. So we need to look into that. So what I mean, we did research we didn't do research, another research company did for boulders. We just took the research and dissected it. So the main market is Naledi. We call her Naledi. She's a 35-year-old on average. She lives in the greater Tembisa township. So you would think Boulders being in Midrand, the major audience would be Midrand, but actually it's not. It's people from Tembisa. It's a commuter market. So obviously she uses a taxi to come to the mall. But then she has the boyfie next to her. And the boyfie, the name is Tabo. Well, it's boyfriend or husband, depending. You know, in the township, you can be in the sense that I was a female, but you can be my boyfriend, but you're my husband. Yeah. I'll not say anything else. So the major languages spoken there, Sepedi, Zulu, and obviously English. So we understood this. Once we understood this, we then went and did research on international and local shopping centers in terms of free Wi-Fi. And the one thing we came about is when creative is done in content, it all says the same thing. Free Wi-Fi is available. That's it. Here's the thing. South Africa is characterized as one of the countries of highest rates of HIV. But people know about condoms, but clearly they don't use them. So the understanding that something is available doesn't mean some people will use it. So that's the one thing we gathered there. Number 2, we looked at the audience in terms of what they're doing from an entertainment perspective, how they use internet and all these things. We realized the one, so I don't watch a lot of television, so I'm not sure whether it's a soapy or series or whatever, but Uzalo is the main soapy that people watch. And then they go to YouTube. When they missed the episode of Uzalo, they go to YouTube the next day to see yesterday's episode. During work hours, I have employees that do that, by the way, but it's fine. And then they listen to music, obviously, and there's a greater majority as well. There's a lot of entrepreneurs booming in the township, and they use, obviously, internet for entrepreneurial endeavors. So we came up with a campaign, Live Uncapped. Instead of saying Wi-Fi is now available, we said, how much can you do? 3 hours of free uncapped Wi-Fi. Then we broke it down. We branded literally everything in that mall, from the bins all the way through to the info desk. We had Wi-Fi selfie spots that coincided with the social media strategy. So if you find a hotspot or a selfie spot, take a pic, upload, you win airtime and all the likes. But the main thing around this campaign was communicating that you can stream 2 full movies whilst you're waiting for Bay to do her shopping. You can catch up on emails, you can check music videos and all these things. And then we created hotspots where people could literally sit and use that Wi-Fi. So the trestle table, that's for people with laptops. The ottomans and the chair is for people that are literally on tablets or on phones. It's 3 hours, by the way, so if you expect someone to stand for 3 hours, it's not gonna work. So that was the main thing around this. So the results, we launched this in October last year. By the 14th of January, we had 17,000 people registered on the platform with just under 66,000 connections, meaning those 17,000 people connected 65,000 times. The dwell time increased, I think, about 2%, if I remember correctly. And in March alone, that 17,000, so this 17,000 there, increased to 30,400 people. So free Wi-Fi, like I said, 250 megabytes will not work. Let's go uncapped. Go big or go home. But how you also match up that in terms of content, understand the audience. How do they consume the data? How do they use the data? Bring that out in the campaigns that you use, or the campaigns you launch. Second case study, which I'm extremely proud of, I have to say this is a campaign I'm extremely proud of that we did this year for another client of ours, Semi-Max Square. So Semi-Max Square is in Pretoria CBD. The main market there is people that come from the surrounding townships. So Mamelodi, Atteridgeville, Soshanguve, Harankua, Mabopane. So those are the people that come to the CBD where they work. Some of them school there, and they do their lunchtime shopping and everything. Then they go home. So they also asked us to launch their free Wi-Fi as well this year in Jan. Well, we didn't launch it in Jan, but they briefed it in Jan. So when we looked at this campaign after doing our research, we realized that shopping centers play a bigger role in the lives of consumers, and I heard one speaker was saying it as well. It's not just about a place where people are going to shop. Hence, when we have discussions of strategy, tenant mix for me is the last thing I talk about. Because it's not just a place where people go to shop, and that's what we lose the plot with. We need to understand that we play a bigger role as shopping centers in the lives of those people. And we need to start understanding the less obvious needs and meet those less obvious needs. What I mean by that is this. So we looked at the target audience for Semi-Max. We have students, both tertiary and high school, a little bit of primary students. We looked at their needs. Obviously, they need a place to study. They need a place to chill. They are vibey. They need a place to get one or two after that hectic class and everything. That's already sorted for them. That's a need that's already done, so we left them out. Then we looked at workers in the area. Those are people that work at the Reserve Bank and other businesses around. They literally just come there for the Woolies food and they vamoose, and that's it. So we left them out. Then we realized there's another tertiary market that is a self-employed market. They come to the mall sitting at the Wimpy for meetings and a place to work because they don't have access to offices and all these things. Then we found out that they actually go to the McDonald's that's just across the street from Semi-Max. They sit there to access the 250 megabytes from McDonald's, and now they have to also withstand people shouting and kids running around and all these things. So it's not conducive for them to do their business day to day. At the same time, the Wi-Fi is literally 250 megabytes. There's nothing you can do about that. So what we did after understanding all these things, we created this beautiful thing. We call it the hub at Semi-Max. So what we did, we took one problem, which was a lot of vacant shops, and we took one vacant shop, and we created a hub for entrepreneurs to use, connecting it to the free Wi-Fi, less obvious need. Now the people are there, they dwell more there, so the dwell time obviously increases. Now this is a post that we posted on the Semi-Max Facebook page. This is a result of 2 hours later. By the way, we did not boost this, so there's no advertising here. We didn't boost it. It's organic engagement. 2 hours later, we had 32 people sharing this thing on their platforms, talking about this beautiful thing, because there's nothing like that in Pretoria. Anything that's closer to this is the incubation hub that is owned by Standard Bank, which is all the way in Hatfield. So the only people that can really access it is people that come from Mamelodi. But people from Atteridgeville, Soshanguve, and everything, they can't access that because it's extremely far for them. So, in summary, I see I have 11 minutes left. It's fine. In summary, what we need to what we need to understand with the case studies that I shared and the research that we understand from a township perspective. And this is one of the one thing that, or the two things there that Vusi Tembago always says, which I love because I connect to that. It says, number one, find the truth. Remember Raymond Ackerman, he walked his aisles, he walked his stores to find the truth. Because now, if, for example, you're a CEO and you ask your salespeople why your sales are dropping, they'll probably tell you about price. You talk to your marketing, they'll probably tell you about the competitor. You talk to operations, they'll probably talk to you about efficiency in the operation mechanisms and everything. Those are just versions of the truth. We need to find the real truth on why is it that our sales are dropping. So in the same way, we need to find the real truth around our shopping centers. Why do people choose my center, or why don't they choose my shopping center? Is it really tenant mixed? Because sometimes we sit there and think, maybe because it's township, let's just get a box, a cash and care. And that's not the point. You know, because once you do that, then you're killing yourself. Like, for example, I'm sorry if there's people in the crowd that market this specific center, I'm going to say, I'm sorry, but I just had to say it. So you have Mainland Shopping Center, and then you have Mainland Main. Mainland Shopping Center in terms of size is enormous compared to Mainland Main. But the quality of people that go to Mainland Main versus Mainland Shopping Center is on a different level. And what I mean by that is, number two, be the best, not the biggest. So whenever we have conversations, we always talk about, I want 2 million people footfall. The moment there's 1,999,000, we have a problem. Because we want to be big, not necessarily the best in achieving what the customer is there for, understanding our customer, providing for them, because that's business 101. You know, the whole day I was here and I was looking at all these futuristic things, and I'm an aspiring futurist myself, but I'm also realistic. At some point, when we talk too much about the future, we compel ourselves in being too crowded with so many of these things, and we forget basics. And my view is we need to also go back to basics. And part and parcel of basics is business 101, marketing 101. What your customer needs, you meet the need, or you help them meet their goal. That's it. And once you understand that, and we become the best at that, not focusing on being the biggest, because I think in South Africa, the shopping centers, the race is to become the biggest. This one is the biggest mall in South Africa. No, this one is second. But at the end of the day, you're providing the same service. And some people are even getting irritated because now your mall is too big. They just wanted to get to the bathroom. Now they have to go through 15 different parking bays and all these other things. You know, so we need to focus on being the best at solving those things and understanding them as opposed to being the biggest. And last one, we need to rethink the role that shopping centers play in the lives of the consumers, or rather the shoppers. Whether you're in the township, you're talking to township, or whether you're talking to peri-urban, urban, whatever the case may be, the major thing is we need to rethink the role of shopping centers. The hub that we created, Semi-Max, is a step closer to what we think is the future of shopping centers. It is the marrying of digital and physical. And yes, you'll have your click to collect and all these other nice things. But at the end of the day, we need to understand that shopping centers form part of social and cultural activities for consumers. So we need to relook those shopping centers and those understandings. What do we need to do to bring people there? Give me a reason to come to your mall. Like this Times Square opposite Mainland Main. Times Square at the top there, they have a rooftop area called Altitude. That is packed for days. That's always packed. That rooftop area is always packed. But at the same time, you have the same things literally across the road. There's a yep and all these other things there. But people choose to go to Altitude, mainly because of the social aspect of being at Altitude. And that's the other thing with the black audience. The black audience wants to be there. They want to be within the things. So you need to create the spaces for them to be within the things. Because if they are not within, they are not going to come. And that's just how it is. So we need to understand that, rethink the role of shopping centers. Yes, it means that we have to go beyond the conventional ways we think about shopping centers. And yes, you have to challenge things that have previously worked. And unfortunately, but that's what you need to do. And that's my view. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lebo. I think lots of insight that has certainly been gained by the audience. Anyone with questions as we do wrap up? We've got a hand right here, sir. If the roving mic could make its way to you.
How's it going? So I'm from Pareto, we own Mainland. I'll just take all your criticism.
I'm sorry.
No, it's good. I just wanted to ask, in terms of that office space you set up, I'm assuming, I just want to understand, is that Wi-Fi then free all day? And how have you monetized that space? Because I'm assuming there's opportunities on the catering side if you're having meetings, because Wimpy or whichever restaurant people were having meetings at are now going to lose that turnover. So you're kind of losing out there. So how did you kind of create those synergies, having office space?
So the first question, Wi-Fi is totally free. There's no way that we charge the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi is totally free.
All day?
All day, every day. It's always free. But over and above that, in terms of monetization model, the second phase of that model is we've got a lot of feedback from people because we wanted to test it out as well. People want to book it for their own conferences, for their own seminars and all that. Obviously, that's non-GLA revenue, but that's what we're working on in terms of getting that up and running. So the major thing there is to monetize it from bookings, over and above the Wi-Fi as well. The Wi-Fi shows, well, for Boulders rather, because it's the same platform, but it shows a 76% returning customer. We did one campaign where if you log in, you got a spinning wheel on the actual landing page. If you spin it, you get to win certain prizes, but you had to do certain other things to bring in revenue into the center. So the platform in itself has other mechanisms that we're employing to essentially bring in revenue. So it's not just saying, hey, we're doing good business, doing good is good business, and just come CSI charity. It's not that. Essentially, there is a model around that, but obviously it's coinciding with the fact that we understand what the audience has a problem with, and we're building that into it. I hope I answered your question.
Fantastic. Any other questions from the audience as we do wrap up? Well, we'll give you an opportunity. Is that a hand, sir, at the back? Okay. Well, we'll give you an opportunity to continue engaging. And of course, like you say, the truth to entrepreneurship is actually sourcing a solution to the problems that you identify. Lebu, thank you so much for your time today and giving us some perspective.
Thank you.
Thanks once more for joining us today.